So what you got any ideas for the skit this week?
I got nothing. Hey guys, welcome to Boys of Summer number 8. I'm Joe.
I'm Jeremy.
And today we are reviewing Inside Out, the latest Disney Pixar team-up venture. I guess, as always, what do you think coming out of it?
I thought it was a pretty good movie. I enjoyed it. It was very creative, I thought, for being about the emotions inside of the head. I really thought that it was just really creative movie. It was very well done as a movie standpoint. There wasn't really too much wrong with it, in my opinion, from a movie making standpoint. Flowed nicely. The character development was nicely. Pixar always does a great job at that, and I mean it was enjoyable, but I felt like more of this one Pixar. I don't know. To me, I felt like I didn't enjoy this one as I have done in past ones, though.
Well, I guess I should preface this by saying I'm not a fan of animated movies.
Not a fan at all.
I don't know. I've never really been a fan, even as a child. Like the kind of classics like 101 Dalmatians and stuff like that just never really appealed to me. I mean, there were a few exceptions like Aladdin, The Lion King, and stuff like that, but those are kind of universally loved.
Yeah, I'm glad you like those because those are awesome.
But like, you know, whereas most kids would be like willing to watch something like The Lady and the Tramp or something like that, it just never really. I don't know. I don't really know why. It never really appealed to me. I didn't even really like adult animation until later in life. So, was it enjoyable? I mean, as much as I could enjoy it coming in with the bias, which, I mean, it was fine. I didn't hate it. There's been ones I've hated and I've had to watch. This wasn't one of them. Would I ever watch it again? Probably not. Like, it would take a lot to have to watch it again. I don't know. I just don't really get it. It was, like, fine. It was well done. Sure. I don't know. I feel like it didn't, like, I feel like it didn't do anything to differentiate itself from the slew of others that come out and that have come out. Like, I feel like it didn't do anything that broke itself away from the pack. Like even one like that was recently popular, Big Hero 6. I felt like that broke away from the pack a lot more than this did. While maybe Big Hero 6 wasn't necessarily as unique plot-wise, it just was more interesting and kind of different for what a Pixar Disney type venture was.
Well, Big Hero was just Disney, though. It wasn't Pixar. It wasn't? No, just Disney. Just like Frozen was and Wreck-It Ralph are just Disney titles.
Well, that might be part of the reason then. I think maybe Pixar's a little... They got a formula, and I feel like they're like, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Maybe that's part of the problem.
I can see Pixar having a formula. I can see that because I look back at Up and Toy Story and WALL-E and all that. And the movies do seem like they do have a style to them and everything else. So I can see that point. I was just really impressed by the unique creativity of the story. Yeah. For whoever came up with the idea, bravo.
See, like, you mentioned, like, Up, like, and WALL-E, and yeah, those didn't really, like, I mean, I know, like, that's, like, sacrilegious to say that either of those didn't do it for you, but, see, I just never really...
I can't believe you say that, because I really enjoyed it. I mean, Up was really good, but, like, WALL-E I thought was terrific.
They're okay. I don't know. Like, there's just something in my head, and I guess it's ironic that we're talking about Inside Out, where maybe we can, like, I don't know, I can be psychoanalyzed, figure out what, maybe
your emotions or just have something
I'm missing one of those core memories or something, but,
maybe.
No, like, there's just something where it's just, like, I instantly turn off and I don't care. Maybe, like, I try to talk to people about this before, and I think, like, part of it's because I don't know, I feel like well, I'm like an adult watching a movie geared for a younger audience primarily,
Mm-hmm.
and I feel like like it almost feels like it's like condescending to watch a movie like that. Like I'm being kind of talked down to and a little bit, and it just I don't know.
I
Like
don't know.
I
I
feel
think you
like
think get too much into it, man.
I
I
mean,
just go and
probably.
watch and enjoy
I
it.
mean,
It doesn't
probably.
bother me at all.
I don't know, and like I said, and probably like being as into anime as I did wind up, like as a teenager, and just like kind of being like
You're
ingratiated with that
yeah,
style,
but you're not with the other style.
yeah, it just it's like whenever I see animation, I either associate it with anime or I just don't care. Like those
Yeah,
are
that's
like,
weird because you're just like you only like anime, but you don't like the animation.
yeah. I mean, but you know, it's like it's whatever. Like I said, it was a good movie.
It was a good movie.
It was alright. I mean,
It was a good movie. I thought it was.
okay, so something specifically that I enjoyed about the movie was, I guess, the I don't know. I guess the introduction of Bing Bong was interesting. I mean,
Yeah.
it was. I had no idea they were going to go that route. The dream stuff was cool. Like, oh no, I'll tell you, the actual thing that got me, that I was actually kind of like snickered at a little bit, was when the brief moment when they went into the minds of the mother and the father of the girl. What's her name?
Uh,
I wanted to say Riley,
Yeah.
but that doesn't sound right.
Riley is it?
Is it?
Yeah, it is.
I don't feel like that's it.
It is.
Anyway,
It's Riley.
the girl, like you know, like we got to see like her emotions forever, okay, whatever. But then like seeing like the various things and how they were different, like within the father and the mother, that was humorous to me.
Yeah,
And
I
that-
really enjoyed that too.
That interchange, I felt like that was probably the most well done, and I feel like if there was more of that, not primarily that, I mean primarily stick with the main girl, but if there was more of that, because at the end they did that where they went into everyone's minds,
Yeah,
and
like a
everything.
cat, a dog, and stuff.
And you know it was like kind of like the gag at the end of the credits, and that was also like humorous. So I felt like just like a little bit more of that, like having her in a situation where she interacted with more people, because she really doesn't interact with people.
No, she goes.
in the
She
movie.
lost all of her core memory. She becomes very depressed.
Well, anyway, like I feel like
She's
just
lost.
like if there was like more interactions with her, like at the end where she like interacts with this boy at the hockey rink, and like we go into his mind real
Yeah,
fast.
and all of them are like girl,
Yeah.
girl, and it's like crazy mayhem.
Yeah, I just feel like just little bits more of that in the movie would have been, like in the actual movie, would have been funnier, just because it did have this unique premise of like what's going on inside your mind and stuff like that, and personifying your emotions and stuff like that. So yeah, doing that, and also if it did it where other people had other emotions in their mind, like instead of just like the five that she
Yeah.
had, like anger, joy, sadness, disgust, and
Uh-huh.
fear, if like other people had different ones,
That would be unique.
that would have been interesting. And maybe like, you know, like she encounters someone where there's just like one emotion, like they're like a boring person or something like that, you know, like a monotonous person.
Yeah, over the
Um,
time, other emotions
yeah.
have lost.
I mean they kind of did that with the bus driver at the in the end credits, where like all of his were basically anger.
Yeah,
You know, I don't know, just stuff like that just would have been good. I don't know. I just feel like there were like bits that were really inspired, but then there was like a bunch of them where it's like I get it, like it's making like a poignant statement about childhood and how like simplistic it is for us emotionally, and then when we get to a certain age, things become more complex, and our emotions aren't nearly as black and white as just joy or sadness or anything. They're like kind of intermingled, and there's depth to it. I get that. It just, I don't know, like that premise alone wasn't enough to carry the movie for me.
mm-hmm.
And I feel like, you know, because all we can both say about it the most is it was all right, it was fine,
Yeah,
you know. And it's like there wasn't the premise on its own. I felt maybe people expected would kind of like take it to like a certain level, and it just it just made it okay. It just made it interesting. It lended itself to some interesting points, I guess.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the movie kind of followed just joy and sadness as they went into the dream world and long-term memory. I thought that stuff was really interesting.
Yeah.
I kind of wish, though, we got to experience more of disgust, anger, and fear.
Yeah, because
they were more like all of them were highlighted and all of them were part of it. Maybe it would have been cool if maybe we didn't get lost into the dream. Maybe it was like it was like an outside journey for her, and she was interacting with other people, and we got to see the emotions do the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
That might be neat, but I liked it how I went to meet Bebop and went to the...
Bebop?
Whatever his name was.
Bing Bong?
What Bing Bong, whatever.
they actually crossed over the Ninja Turtles from the 80s at one point. Met Bebop and Rocksteady. I was really confused.
It was the greatest moment ever.
Yeah.
No, but, getting dumped into where your long-term memory and all that get forgotten, that was interesting. I knew that Bing Bong was going to get forgotten and, sacrifice himself, so...
Do you feel like this suffered maybe a little bit because there wasn't really an antagonist?
There wasn't really...
There was conflict, but it was not personified.
Maybe so, because I think that's tough to do. I think a movie needs an antagonist, even if it's a physical object or something that's coming at them. I guess the prime example would be Unstoppable. Didn't have a person as an antagonist. The antagonist was a train that was coming at. I think you need something to push your movie forward so people can grasp onto. Yeah. And this movie really didn't have. I guess the antagonist would have been just the overall trying to get back before Riley runs away. I mean,
what it really
before
was,
everything's collapsed.
The really big conflict in an abstract way was just like change and growing up, and I feel like that's just so abstract, and there was no way to really narrow that down in a way where it affected the characters themselves, the emotion characters. It affected Riley. I like how we're just assuming that's her name. It affected Riley.
I'm sure it's her name. I promise you.
It affected Riley, and we saw that, but it's like you spent 30% with Riley and 70% with the characters in her head.
I'm okay with that.
I know, yeah, but the move and the change didn't really affect them in as concrete a way as it affected her. And I feel like since they were the ones that we were stuck with, they needed more of a conflict besides just we have to get back, because it's one note. You know what I mean?
I agree with you there.
Yeah.
I mean, it would need something to push it forward. I think with somebody, maybe, I don't know how you would make an antagonist in the film. Maybe another person, or maybe an emotion, another
That's
emotion.
That's what I'm saying.
Maybe
something. An emotion, maybe introduce something like that, in the mind, like doubt or something like that. Something else pops up, and that's what messes up. I think this is kind of a symptom, or it's symptomatic of the fact that this movie kind of had identity issues with whether it wanted to be purely a children's movie or a family movie.
I think so too, because I don't. To me, it kind of was bordering, because I think the thing that got me was it wasn't enjoyable more for adults. Especially in our theater, not too many adults laughed or interacted with it. Kids did, but not too many adults. So maybe I'm thinking this movie's more centered around kids, and maybe not so much for a family film where adults and kids can both enjoy it.
Yeah.
How family films will have underlying themes for adults, the children will pick up on the main themes, and then everybody is good. Before we go, one thing I did enjoy from this movie is every time you went to another person's brain, adult, they were all working together. It was kind of like it was grown up, and you knew the emotions had to work together. When Riley, everybody was working separate.
Yeah.
So I did like that.
See, yeah, I think the identity crisis here is that the plot and the general narrative structure was suited for children, but the content itself, the specifics, were so innately adult in nature that they did struggle with each other a little bit. It threw out terms that probably most adults aren't really familiar with,
Jenny, my wife knew, she was a counselor, so.
But it was throwing out a lot of kind of complicated language, and a lot of sort of especially when they go into the abstract mind portion, and they're just throwing so much stuff at you that a child, it was probably just gobbledygook to them.
Yeah,
and
it was.
And because it was just silly, it was haha, but it's there was no way like children could comprehend it, and they're throwing that, and and like I felt like that was maybe trying to like serve adults, and there were like a couple jokes here and there about the bear in California and doing like the double entendre because bear also means like a burly gay man and stuff like that. There was like stuff like that, but it kind of fell flat, but it was just such a simplistically childish movie in its plot structure that it just didn't hold my interest. Real quick, can we talk about the short at the beginning, Lava?
Love that short. I don't know what you're talking about. It was...
I heard Jenny say she didn't care for it.
Don't listen to her.
And I didn't care for it just because it was just so, like, I got the point like 30 seconds in, and it was like 7 minutes. Well, that's the problem. Beautiful. The fucking song was in my head. Part of my language. The song was in my head for like ever, for the rest of the day. And I didn't like it. Like I felt like that was the only reason they did it. Like I felt like they're like, oh, let's just come up with something catchy, bubblegum shit for, like so that it'll just be stuck in your head and the kids will want to sing it and then they can sell it like a single on iTunes for 99 cents. I felt like that was the only purpose of it.
Wow.
And it was just...
It was about a lava, dude.
It just... It did not set...
fell into the water, came back up.
It did not set a great tone for it. It did not bolster my expectations, which were low. But anyway...
I agree. It wasn't the best they ever did.
On to the scores. I'll let you go.
We're doing scores. Throw that on me, man. Throw that on me. I'm gonna go. I think this movie was very creative, and I think it is a great. I think it's gonna be matinee for me. I think if you take your kids to it, I think if you're going with your kids and you have kids, I think this movie's perfect for full price. If you're just going, two people like animated movies, they've liked them in the past. Maybe I saw a couple couples just going on a date or something to watch it, which is sometimes me and my wife would do that too. I think this would be a matinee price. I think you'll pay. I think you'll get from it. Some people might love this movie, and other people might just think it's all right. But overall, I don't think it's a bad movie at all. But my score would be matinee.
For me, I feel like it's going to have to be for me personally, it would be a skip. Not because of quality, just on principle of just how I feel for it. If I was just talking on behalf of normal people, I would say, like, your average person who gives anything a chance, I would say it's a rental, because I feel like it just didn't add anything to the animated, I don't know, like, library, like in the grand scheme of things. It did not add it. It did not do anything special. It did not do anything that warrants me paying like a substantial or a relatively substantial amount of money to view. So it was a skip for me.
I believe you would even skip it. I think it's a matinee for sure.
See, I mean, I skip most animated movies, but
yeah, you're a hater.
Let's say, like, pushing my personal bias aside. My actual score for the audience would be a Rent. Just, it's worth checking out. It had its moments. It was interesting. It was unique. I applaud them for trying to do something outside the box. It might not have been the most successful. I can definitely think of ways to do it better. We kind of discussed some ways to do it better. But yeah, Rental, unless you're me or unless you're like me. In which case, just keep doing what you're doing.
No, just go watch matinee. If you have kids, full price.
So, moving on from a skip this week to what I'm assuming is going to be a skip next week. What are we watching?
Ted 2.
Yes, the highly in-demand sequel to the great Seth MacFarlane vehicle, continuing his trend of just casting himself as the main character in things. We were going to watch Ted 2
because A Million Days in the West did not do well.
I like how you just think it's A Million Days in the West.
It is Million Ways in the West. It's A Million Ways to Die in the West. Yes. I skipped the die.
Yeah.
The movie doesn't deserve the full title. It's just
A Million Days in the West. That's how it feels when you watch it. Like you're spending a million days in the West. But yes, Ted 2. Mark Wahlberg,
shame,
weirdly, no Mila Kunis in it. I wonder if that's going to be addressed. But
Very
Amanda
true.
Seyfried or
Yeah, she's
Seyfried?
like a lawyer this time, I think, from the trailers I've seen.
Yeah,
So.
and then of course our friend Seth MacFarlane.
But he's doing his Peter Griffin voice and a teddy bear, and it's funny because he made Ted. He did A Million Ways to Die in the West. It bombed.
Mm-hmm.
Now, of course, he's going back to Ted 2. He needs that to be a hit. If it's not a hit, then he could be his movie career could be in a little jeopardy.
Yep, but from a very decidedly family movie or a child movie to a
very adult movie.
It'll be interesting. But as always, I've been Joe.
I've been Jeremy.
This has been Boys of Summer, and we'll catch you next week.
Thank you for watching.